EagleSpirit, back to share more about being an empath and how you can thrive rather than survive. The EmpathWays series of videos is available for free online, and I'm doing it now at this time after years of working with fellow sensitive souls, because with this energetic shift that's going on, many more of us are really being awakened to our sensitivities. And sometimes, frankly, it's a little overwhelming. Now, in the first episode, I asked you to tell me what you really wanted to know more about. And I've promised to answer each and every one of those questions. We'll try and do it in an order that makes sense for you. So the first thing we want to do is talk more about how do you know if you're really an empath or whether you're just a very sensitive person. So many of us have been shamed for our sensitivities. And the fact is that our very sensitivities, these very things that we've had trouble with in the past, are what's going to help us move forward in our lives way more easily and far more successfully. What we need to do, however, is identify what our skill set is, where our sensitivities lie, and how to manage that energy so that we don't get overwhelmed by others. So to do that, the first thing we want to look at is, are you really an empath? So some of the things you can ask yourself about are the following. Number one, how do you feel when you're out in public? Do you notice it's easier to be in a mall amongst a group of people, or do you notice you're far more comfortable meeting with people one-on-one or taking time for yourself out in nature? If you've answered that the quiet one-on-one time or the time in nature works better for you, chances are you might be an empath. Let's talk more about when you're dealing with people. Do you notice that when you're talking with them, you start to perhaps mirror their language, which makes it easier for them to understand you and easier for you to communicate? Or do you find, for example, spending time with someone who isn't well, maybe physically or emotionally or mentally, suddenly you're taking on their stuff? Many of the empaths, and we'll talk later on another episode about the different types of empaths, but many empaths will find that they actually physically pick up the energy from other people. And if you're a physical empath, for example, this can be very helpful when you're working in the healing professions like myself, or it can also be extremely challenging because if you cannot clear your fields, you may end up going about your day or your week or even much longer carrying on to somebody else's stuff. I call it karma droppings. So let's look at a third way that you might know that you're an empath. Do you invisibly carry a superhero cape on your shoulders because you're out to save the world? Whether it's a commercial you've seen for the latest disaster that's happening around the world, and there are so many of them, and there are many places where your help is very much needed. But I have to tell you, there's many places where your help is not needed. And what you're actually doing is interfering with someone's path or journey. And what you need to do is unwind yourself. You need to be able to discern what's yours and what's somebody else's. In another episode, we'll talk about discernment, because that was one of the questions you mentioned on my Facebook page, on the EagleSpirit Journeys page, which we'll post this video there as well, because we'll keep collecting questions that you want answered. So we've taken a look at environment, where you are and how that impacts on your energy. We've taken a look at communication with people and how that impacts on your energy. And it's also important to look at the level of self-care that you're doing. Do you notice that when you take time for yourself to re-energize and recharge, when you eat what your body actually wants you to eat, not your mind and not the latest fad diet, when you drink enough water so the energy can flow through your system more easily, do you notice when you do, and get the amount of rest that you need? Do you notice when you do that level of self-care that you're no longer bothered by other people's energies or other environments, chances are you're an empath. Empaths are sensitive souls who can truly put themselves in someone else's shoes. We're not hearing a story or reading a report or something in the newspaper and going, wow, that must be tough, and sort of sympathizing with people. What we're doing is when we see the newspaper article, when we watch TV, when we talk to people who are in trouble, we feel it on all 4 levels quite often: physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And so at the end of today's episode, I want you to really ask yourself, are you truly an empath? In fact, let's go one step further. Watch this week's Facebook posts for EagleSpirit Journeys, and how about I create a checklist for you? This is something we do in the Empath 101 program, and I think it might be helpful for you too. So watch for that. And the other thing I might suggest is thinking about self-care. One of the things I did was I created EmpathWays cards. And there are 25 affirmation cards that are extremely helpful when you're needing a focus for your day. So I have mine kept in this lovely little decoupage box that my friend and fellow empath, Janine O'Reilly, made. And so I'm just going to pull one out. I'll open the lid off and pull one out. And let's see if we have something meaningful. Listening to the intent. This one just popped right out. So this is what they look like, the EmpathWays. Oops, look at my... Let me help us there. My EmpathWays cards. And let's see. Oh my goodness. One or more of you, myself included, probably need to hear this right now. It's safe for me to share my most authentic self with others. I love and approve of myself exactly as I am. Helpful, right? It really is safe to be a sensitive soul, and you can thrive. And I'm looking forward to continuing this journey with you so we can do it together. Sending you much love. Many blessings.